Hey boys, Scotty the Redneck Canadian again. Uh, you know, one question that I get asked probably the most is, where the heck do you get all this ammunition to blow shit up all the time? And my answer to that is that I make it. And people kind of look at me when I tell them that I make it, wondering like, what do you mean you make it? And so today, I figured we'd put a video together to answer some of the questions that people have about how exactly we make ammo. Today we're going to do probably what I make the most, well definitely what I make the most of, which is 9mm Parabellum. It's a great round. It's quickly become my favorite round because you can use it in a handgun like my Springfield XDM here. Um, and they also make ARs in 9mm. This is actually a short barrel, so it's a pistol, CMMG. But it's pretty sweet because most of the time you're going to go out and shoot a 5.56 round or something bigger than that. You're only going to be shooting at 100 yards anyways. So, you know, why spend a 60-cent bullet when you can make these for around 10 cents and shoot a lot more of them a lot cheaper. So, anyways, let's start off with the tools of the trade, and we'll go through how we do it, and then we're going to do it real quick, and after that, you'll be a pro at how to make your own ammo. Alright, as for tools of the trade, this is my press. It's a Hornady lock and load AP progressive press. It's got 5 stations. I did a lot of research before I bought a progressive press. What progressive means, in this one there's 5 stations, and every time you pull the handle, the shell plate rotates and it'll actually do up to 5 operations at once. I chose this based on a reputable firearms blog's review online, and I gotta say I can't be happier with it. Number one, I mean the price, it was considerably less than the Dillon in the RCBS. I got this for like 389 bucks, I think it was. And all you need, as opposed to some of the other ones, is a shell plate and a set of dies, which is probably going to run you about 60 bucks. So basically for 450 bucks you got everything you need to do whatever caliber your choice. I made a couple of slight modifications. One thing, I guess with any progressive press, you have to keep them clean, you have to keep them lubricated. They're very precision pieces of machinery. I had a slight adjustment that had to be done with this one. I called Hornady's tech support. Any of these gun companies, reloading supplies companies, RCBS, Hornady, and they got great tech support. We had the issue fixed in a matter of about 15 seconds once I got on the line. So a couple modifications that I did make to this. I added this little shelf here, which actually isn't a modification to the press, but I added this shelf here so that I could keep 2 of these containers, one for bullets, and you'll see later it significantly speeds things up. And the other modification that I did was to the primer ejection system. When you take the spent primers out, there was a tube. It was smaller than this one, and it wasn't long enough. I put a big 3/8 inch diameter tube in here, and then I hooked this up so that it all goes down into this little plastic bowl. And you can see there's thousands and thousands of primers now. Put a couple hose clamps here so that it keeps it in place, and now I don't have primers all over the floor like I used to. So other than that, I think it's great. Okay, and here we actually have our die set. This is the first operation that happens, which is your decapping and resizing die. This is your case mouth expander. This is the bullet seating die, and this is a die that I don't use that much. This will actually feed bullets, but they have to be full metal jacket bullets. It kind of works with plated bullets, but I found that a lot of the cheaper plated bullets, they have inconsistent plating thicknesses, so it just is more of a hassle than it's worth. But it's there. And how this works is that our decapping pin is going to push out the primer that you can see in that spent casing. There's a spent primer right there. Okay, it's going to push it out. And it's also going to reform the brass, because right now you could push that bullet right down into there, and that's not going to do us any good. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to form it into a little cone like this, so you can see there's just no way that that bullet's ever going into there. Okay? And so then what we do is we insert a new primer into a casing that's been deprimed like that. Okay? Then we use this expander die, which will actually flare the case mouth so that you can see the bullet will actually fit in there. And then the bullet seating die, this one here, actually pushes the bullet down, and then of course in between that is when you have to add powder. So it's basically how it works. Now what I do, I call kind of remanufacturing, because you can see this spent casing here, and these spent casings here, they got lots of nasty residue in them. So what we do is I set the press up first of all as a single stage with just the decapping and resizing die, and we end up with this that's all nasty, and we're going to tumble it in stainless steel media, and you can see the inside of that primer pocket and the inside of that casing is absolutely pristine. And then from there we're going to set up the progressive press with a expanding station. We're going to prime on the press, we're going to add powder, and we're going to seat our bullets, and then we're going to have a finished product. Alright, so our first stage here, we've got a bunch of once fired shells. Kind of shake them around. We're going to lube the cases up well. That's going to help them slide up through our die. We're going to index this, and I like to do this rather than on a single stage. I like to do it on the progressive, and this is why. You'll see when we get one more station. See, all I have to do is insert the cases, and then it actually will spit them out for me. So we're only using the first station here, but what we end up with are nasty but resized and decapped shells. And so now we're going to take these nasty resized and decapped shells, and we're going to put them in the tumbler. I do want to mention at this point, one of the main reasons that I do this in two stages too, instead of just reloading. Not only do I want to get the shells clean, but when you've got 5 different operations going on here at the same time, there's a lot of pressure on this press when you pull down, okay? And a lot of times if you've got a malfunction, or you get a case that's not sitting right or whatever, it's hard to tell, and you can sometimes end up forcing that thing, which you should never do, but you're not sure if it's just a tight case or what. It can cause some problems when you do that. And 2 of the problems that I encounter quite often are these, I believe they're Israeli military cases that actually have 2 primer holes in them side by side and not in the middle. And if you try to do that, that's going to whack your decapping pin and probably bend that mandrel shaft. And the other problem are these little bastards right here. These are 380 ACP shells, and I buy these casings in lots of 5,000, and this is how many I got in the last lot of 5,000. And they're not good to have mixed in with 9mm because they will chamber, and sometimes they will fire, and sometimes they do blow up. And I had one blow up in my face, and I've got this one here in my hand that I'll show you. You can see there that it actually chambered and it fired, and it expanded that case, because 380 is not 9mm parabellum cut down. It's a different kind of 9mm cut down, which has a smaller diameter casing. So we want to weed out as many of these 380 cases. We want to weed them all out. And one way that we do that is that when we hit them with the resizing die, because they're shorter, you're going to be able to feel it on the press. And that's how I weeded all of these out, was that when I went down on the press with just the resizing die and decapping pin, there was basically no resistance whatsoever, and that's how I was able to pull them out. And just for your reference, you can see there are two flash holes side by side in that cartridge. That would be a bad thing to hit. And so when you feel the pin hit the bottom and it's just total resistance, you need to stop and you need to pull that thing out of there, because it's probably one of these. Okay, so anyways, here's our resized and decapped dirty filthy brass, and here is our tumbler with stainless steel tumbling media in it. You can see they're just little steel pins, and we'll fill this up probably about 3/4 of the way with water and soap, and there's some Lemmy Shine shining detergent, I guess it is, and we'll put the top on this and we'll let it spin for about 2 hours or so, and then we're going to pull them out, and when everything's dry we're going to end up with something like this. That's approximately 500 that I run at a time, and you can see, like we saw before, I mean, these are shiny inside and out and shiny primer pockets. So we're ready to put these together. Alright, so we've got the press all set up now to reload these. What we've got at our first station is our case mouth expander, which is going to flare these little cones into little hourglasses so that the bullets will fit back into them. We've got our powder drop here, and I'm using Accurate number 2, which I found to be a really good powder for 9mm, because it's very, very, very fine, even finer than like ball powder for 5.56, and it meters really well, and it's not really smoky. Because of the shortages, I've had to use some shot shell powder, long shot, things like that, which works real nice, but it's really smoky. But this meters really well. You get a consistent charge every time. And then we've got our bullet seating die here. So I've got this set up so that our ergonomics work out pretty well here. I can reload these at this point at about 500 an hour, which a friend of mine pointed out yesterday. We probably couldn't load the magazines and shoot 500 an hour for one person, so that's pretty badass that we can actually make these, and it doesn't take us any more time to make them than it does to shoot them. So anyways, this is how it works. We're going to feed our cases, we're going to flare them, then we're going to push, and that's going to push a primer in. Feed another case, push. Now this one's going to hit, and it just dropped powder. Push at the bottom. And this is why I added this, because now I don't have to reach to the bench, and the less reaches means faster reloads. And you can see we're already spitting out finished rounds. If I wasn't talking, I could probably do this considerably quicker, but you can see, I mean, it's pretty darn fast. It takes me about 12 minutes, and I can do 100 of them. Once you get into a rhythm, you can really knock these things out. But you can see, even gabbing to the camera here, and there we have freshly loaded 9mm. Okay, now the last